Welcome to LookRecap. Today I'm going to review the science fiction psychological thriller movie 10 Cloverfield Lane. Take care. A fashion designer named Michelle rushes out of New Orleans with a suitcase, putting her keys in a diamond ring. She is troubled as she drives away from the city. That evening, as Michelle fills up her car at the gas station, she notices a suspicious truck parked behind it but drives on nonetheless. Back on the road, she receives a call from Ben. Her ex-boyfriend Ben begs her to return, but Michelle refuses to speak. The couple had a fight, which caused Michelle to leave abruptly. Tired of his pleading, Michelle ends the call and turns on the radio. The news reports a power outage in the city. Ben calls her again, but something crashes onto her car before she can answer, causing it to flip off the road. Michelle awakens in a nondescript concrete chamber, her leg damaged and shackled to the wall as the power hums in and out. Michelle struggles unsuccessfully to remove the cuffs. Michelle weeps, puzzled and afraid. Unwilling to be a victim, she grabs the fourth pole and uses it to get her phone from the opposite corner of the room. She is successful, but her phone has no service. Heavy footsteps can be heard on the other side of the wall. Michelle covers herself with a blanket as she awaits her captor. A large man enters carrying a plate of food and a gun on his belt. Michelebs for her, but the man does not acknowledge her. Instead, he fixes her for back. The man, Howard, claims that he simply intends to keep her life. He hands her a pair of crutches and instructs her to practice walking with them. Michelle lies, saying that her fiancé will call the cops. Howard assures her that no one is looking for her before handing her the key to the chains. As soon as he leaves, Michelle freezes and puts on some clothing. She tries to enter the door, but it is locked. Determined to escape, she uses the key to file a sharp cut on her crutch. She opens the vent in her room and lights her shirt on fire, causing enough smoke to set off the fire alarm and force man to return. She waits at the door, ready to fight, and ambushes him, but Howard grabs her and injects a scythe into her arm. Michelle awakens in the same room where food is waiting for her. Howard admires her bravery but tells her that she should be grateful he discovered her. Michelle begs for her freedom once more, but Howard assures her there is nowhere else for her to go. Howard recounts saving her from a car accident. He says that a probable nuclear assault occurred. Michelle praises Howard but suggests that she requires a hospital, which irritates Howard because the air outside is tainted and it may be a few years before it is safe to go out. Michelle wishes to contact her family, but Howard ensures that everyone outside has died. A disturbance from outside alerts Michelle to the fact that they are not alone in the bunker. Howard locks her in the room again before dealing with the other person hours later. Michelle wakes up to find the door finally open. She walks out and sees a hallway full of supplies. There she meets the other resident, Emmy, whose arm is injured. Michelle brings up trying to escape with him. But Emmy is also convinced that the air outside is contaminated. Howard finds them, telling Michelle that the sound earlier was Emmett knocking down a week's worth of food. Howard gives them a week's worth of food. Howard establishes some ground rules, including the no-touch rule. He shows Michelle his privateering room, which houses the bunker's only bathroom, and invites her to take a shower. Despite Michelle's insistence on privacy, Howard decides to keep watch by the door because he doesn't trust her yet. While preparing a meal, Howard mentions Megan but only says that she's no longer with them. Michelle argues that it is caused by a car above them, so he brings her to the exit with a window to the outside world. Michelle observes his decaying pigs, who Howard believes died as a result of the poisonous air. Michelle looks across the field and notices Howard's truck. Michelle's imagination replays the seconds before the incident, certain that this was the same truck that ran her off the road. Emmett provides Michelle with information regarding Howard. Howard worked on military satellites before relocating to the farm, where Emmett assisted Howard in building the bunker. Michelle relates her opinion that Howard purposely crashed her car in order to kidnap her, but Emmett is skeptical. Emmett saw the explosion the day he came into the bunker, knowing that Howard's theories about the apocalypse were coming true, and fought his way into the bunker to survive, injuring his arm in the process. Michelle insists that she heard a car above the bunker earlier, but Howard interrupts her and invites them to dinner. Michelle feels nervous at the dinner table, wondering if Howard heard what she said. Emmett tries to strike up a casual conversation with the other two, which helps Michelle relax, much to Howard's chagrin. Howard is irritated by Emmy's cheerful demeanor, but he dismisses it by informing her that he'd rather eat in quiet. Observing how quickly Howard is irritated, Michelle comes up with a strategy and focuses her attention on Emmett, who appears to be flirting with him. When Howard notices Michelle touching its hand, he becomes visibly agitated and smacks the table and corners, accusing Michelle of insulting him. Emmy attempts to calm him down, but she is also terrified of him. After they are seated, Michelle hides keys in her hands under the table, having grabbed them from Howard. The sound of a car overhead draws everyone's attention. Michelle takes a bottle and bangs it across Howard's face before climbing atop the table and unlocking the bunker door with her hand shaking. Howard scrambles up the steps, just reaching her before she opens and closes the first door behind her. She starts opening the second door but notices a car in front. Michelle starts calling for help, while still struggling with the locks on the door. That suddenly a woman covered in lesions crashes against the door begging Michelle not to let her, and finally realizing that Howard may be telling the truth. She stops unlocking the door and asks Howard if they can help the woman. Michelle withdraws after the event. She is confined in the concrete room once more. Howard admits that he crashed her car, but it was an accident. He offers her a set of Megan's old clothing to clean up after showering. Howard tells her that the woman outside was a neighbor, Leslie, who could have heard about his bunker. He then has Michelle stitch up the gash she inflicted on his face. Howard finally opens up about his weird daughter Megan, who was taken to Chicago by her mother, after handing Michelle her items from her car. Later, Emmett tells Michelle how he competed in track competitions, which got him accepted to Louisiana Tech University, but he was afraid of failing and didn't go. This prompts Michelle to share how she was always protected by her brother when her father got angry, but when she had a chance to help another girl with an enraged father, Michelle still got scared and ran. The trio adjusted to life underground. One day, the bunker shakes and they hear helicopters hovering overhead while the power flickers. Howard believes that even if it is the military, it may be the enemy scouring the ground for survivors when an alarm sounds, indicating that their air filtering system is obstructed. Michelle has been tasked starting the air filtration system. Inside the cramped space, Michelle struggles but eventually reaches the mechanical room. She restarts the system as Howard instructs and is relieved to hear it running again. She then notices a ladder leading up to a hatch to the outside on the window. At the bottom of the ladder, she discovers scratches that spell help. While they are alone, Michelle picks up a familiar-looking earring and shows it to Emmy. Then she shows Megan's photo wearing the same earring, but Emmett recognizes the girl in the photo as Brittany, who went to high school with his sister and went missing 2 years ago. Michelle informs him about the word help scratched from the inside of the room. Another photo slips out of Howard's book. One of Brittany and Howard sitting with Brittany is the same one that Michelle is wearing. Emmett plots to kidnap Howard and force him to confess what he did Brittany's case. Michelle wonders who Howard confessed to because they are alone. Howard comes in and tells Michelle she needs to shower. Michelle stares at the shower curtain, formulating a plan. She shows Emmy a drawing she did on a magazine, convincing him to follow along later that night. Emmy grabs a pair of scissors from the kitchen. Then he convinces Howard that Michelle may have contaminated his bathroom after fixing the aeration system. Howard disposes of the shower curtain as a precaution, but Michelle stealthily collects it. Michelle creates a hazmat suit in the bunker using various materials so that one of them can walk outside and look for help. Emmy feels agitated while playing a board game, making Howard suspicious. Later that day, Michelle continues to work on the hazmat outfit when Howard rises, barely giving her time to hide everything. Michelle moves a barrel from the kitchen to Howard's room, explaining that the acid within can dissolve most organic substance, including humans. Howard begins questioning them about his tools, threatening to dissolve them in acid in order to calm him down, and Emmett lies that he took the tools to make a weapon and Michelle had nothing to do with it. He apologizes and Howard accepts it, then shoots Emmy in the face. Michelle cowers in fear with Howard holding her. He directed her to her room while he disposed of Emmett's body alone. Michelle looked the ID in Emmett's wallet. When Howard arrives in, she notices that he has cleaned up and shaven, and he leaves her a bowl of ice cream. Michelle locates the bus ticket that Emmett was scheduled to use to travel to university. Since she does not want Emmy to have died in vain, Michelle resolves to carry out a strategy on her own. She finishes the hazmat suit before Howard summons her for dinner. She hides the homemade gas mask in the vent right before Howard arrives in, but a screw on the V falls, which he checks on and then asks her why it's loose. He drags her off the mattress and reveals the suit underneath. Michelle locks the door with Howard still inside. She searches Howard's room and takes a chemical coolant. Howard stops her, but she kicks the barrel of acid towards him, causing him to tumble down gurgling in pain. Michelle climbs over him and escape. The acid starts a fire in the living room, which sets off the alarm. Michelle grabs the Hamas suit and MAS from her room. As Howard staggers towards her, his body halved, she throws down a shelf to prevent him from climbing over it to escape. The fire blocks are blocking the exit to the bunker. Michelle climbs into the vent, trying to escape through the mechanical room hatch, but Howard hears her and starts stabbing a knife into it. He grabs Michelle by the ankle, but she kicks her legs until he lets her go. Michelle rushes inside the mechanical room, putting on the hazmat suit and freezing the padlock with the chemical coolant after multiple attempts, ultimately opening the hatch above ground. Michelle takes a deep breath and looks around for any sign of life. She spots Howard's old truck and enters, although her suit has rips and tears. She covered it with duct tape out of fear of contagion. Michelle sees a flock of birds flying overhead and watches them, thinking that the bird should have died because the air was poisoned. Taking the chance, she removes her mask, expecting the worst, but nothing occurs, which relieves Michelle. A distant rumble gets her attention, and she climbs on top of the truck and sees an aircraft. Michelle gets back in the truck and looks for the key. When she can't locate it, she goes to Leslie's car, but the alarm goes off. Michelle goes to the shed to hide after discovering Leslie's den inside. She looks outside and notices a thing emerging from the field. Michelle searches Leslie's body for the keys, but the thing flees into the shed. Michelle eventually gets the keys and turns off the alarm, drawing the alien's attention back to it. Michelle crawls out of the shed and rushes to a nearby house. The thing hears her and pursues her. Both Michelle and the alien come to a halt when a rumbling comes from the house. The alien aircraft looms behind the home, releasing gas. Michelle retrieves her mask and desperately seals it on the gas, causing another explosion just as it passes. Michelle stands up, alerting the creature to its impending attack. She enters the vehicle but fails to close it, and the beast opens its mouth. Michelle closes the truck, but the alien aircraft pulls it into the air. When Michelle sees the gigantic thing above her, she loses faith. Next to her, she finds a lighter, which gives her an idea. She snatches the booze that is rolling on the floor and makes a Molotov cocktail, just as the creature opens its lips. Michelle drops the truck after throwing the explosion inside. The alien explodes. The alien plane crashes and burns out on the field. Michelle wakes up and gets out of the vehicle, taking her time to regain her breath. Finally having time to process the event, she notices Leslie's automobile is intact. She enters, relieved that the car is still operational. Michelle drives away, knocking down the mailbox with the address 10 Cloverfield. The car radio picks up a signal that directs survivors to go to Baton Rouge and also asks for help from anyone with medical and war skills to assist survivors in Houston. Michelle finds herself at a crossroads between Baton Rouge and Houston, and she decides to go to Houston to assist the survivors fight. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like, it really helps the channel. Thank you for watching.